What's up, everybody? GeorgeTheGamer back again with, well, you guys asked for it, an extra long deep dive into the story of Alpha Cheater on Ban.Land. Buckle up, because it's going to be a wild ride. We've got a ton of stuff to get through.
Yeah, we've been digging through interviews, forum posts, the wiki, some old chat logs, even YouTube videos. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, this is going to be a long one. So for anyone out there who maybe hasn't heard of Ban.Land, we're talking about a Minecraft anarchy server. Basically, imagine Minecraft with all the rules thrown out the window. No admins, no nothing. Just pure player interaction, survival of the fittest, digital Wild West kind of vibes.
And Alpha Cheater's story is really kind of the story of Ban.Land itself in a lot of ways. It's a story about how anarchy, well, you'd think it'd just be pure chaos, but it can create these really unique communities and these really fascinating power struggles.
Yeah, it's like the whole paradox of anarchy, right? You'd think it'd be everyone for themselves, but to survive, you actually need to work together. You need to form alliances. You need to build communities. At least that's how it went down on Ban.Land.
Exactly. It's like, you take away the rules and suddenly human nature kind of steps in and fills that void. And Ban.Land, it wasn't always this wasteland. It actually started out pretty normal, trees, resources, structures. But then this guy, Supreme Tech, also known as Slave Harrow, he comes along, he's got this crazy idea. He wants to wipe out, millions of blocks at spawn, just delete them, just gone.
So you're a new player, right? You spawn in and boom, there's nothing there. Talk about a trial by fire. How do you even begin to survive in a place like that?
Sink or swim, man. And it was in that chaos and that void that Alpha Cheater emerged as, well, he was kind of the server's top predator. This guy was absolutely notorious for his PvP skills.
Yeah. The stories about this dude are insane. I mean, he was like this mythical figure, always watching, always hunting. Some players even said he spoke in broken English in the chat, which is just creepy, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. It's those little details, man. It's those little details that bring these stories to life, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't just some anonymous griefer. He was a character. And in a world like Ban.Land, character mattered.
Oh, for sure. All right, so we've got this brutal, empty landscape. We've got this legendary PvP stalking new players. So the question is, how did the rest of the community survive in all this madness? What was the culture like?
It's funny, right? Because you'd think it'd be everyone for themselves, but that's not really how it played out. There was actually this really unique sense of community that emerged from all that chaos. Players had to rely on each other. They formed alliances. They created their own systems of order just to survive.
Right. It's like, okay, there are no rules, but we're still going to need some guidelines here if we want to make it.
Exactly. And that's where things start to get really interesting, because in this lawless world, you see these key players and these factions emerging, each with their own goals, their own philosophies.
Right, like New Athens, right?
Yeah, New Athens. They were a multi-server group, very organized, very influential, and they kind of resisted Supreme Tech's leadership in a lot of ways. They had their own elaborate culture, their own laws. It was like watching a mini society form right in the middle of this chaotic server.
It's like, okay, anarchy's cool and all, but we're going to do anarchy our way.
Yeah, exactly. And then you had groups like the Rail Cult. Pretty self-explanatory, right? They were obsessed with connecting the server with these massive rail systems.
It's wild, right? You've got this server that's designed for pure chaos. And these guys are out there trying to impose order through infrastructure.
I love it, man. It really speaks to that human need for structure, even in the most chaotic environments. We crave connection, even in a lawless digital world.
So where does Alpha Cheater fit into all of this? Was he, part of any factions?
Nah, not really. He was always more of a lone wolf operating outside the established groups. But his actions had this, ripple effect on the entire server. There's this one story about this player named CIO. Alpha Cheater trapped him in this box made of obsidian, one of the hardest blocks to break in Minecraft, and he just started taunting him.
Oh, man, classic Alpha Cheater, right?
Yeah, and it's that's just one example, right? It's a perfect example of his whole psychological warfare thing. He didn't just want to defeat you in PvP, he wanted to break you,
Totally. It's like a horror movie, but in Minecraft. So how did anyone even stand a chance on this server as a new player? It sounds pretty intense.
Right. So there was this whole thing about having to prove yourself. New players, they had to complete these dangerous tasks to gain acceptance. Things like killing the Wither, which, man, that is a three-headed boss that shoots exploding skulls. It's no joke, even for experienced players.
So you're telling me these new players, they're spawning into this wasteland, they're getting griefed by Alpha Cheater, and they're expected to take on the Wither just to, prove they belong.
Yeah, it was brutal, man. But it speaks to the culture of Ban.Land. Even in this lawless environment, there was this unspoken code, this need to earn your place, to show you were worthy.
That's like those old cowboy movies, right? You had to prove your mettle in a gunfight or something.
Yeah, exactly. And for the players who couldn't escape spawn, forget about it. They were just sitting ducks, getting killed over and over again, losing all their stuff. It was this constant cycle of death and respawn. But even in that brutal environment, there were these moments of unexpected cooperation.
Right, like Supreme Tech building those huge spawn bases. Those were pretty wild.
Yeah, those are fascinating, like these massive structures constantly being built, griefed, rebuilt. They became these hubs of activity, these weird microcosms of Ban.Land itself.
It's like watching civilizations rise and fall and fast forward, all player-driven too. No admins dictating the rules, just pure emergent gameplay.
Exactly. And that's what made it so unique, right? This chaotic world where players were totally free to create, destroy, interact however they wanted. But even in that chaos, a hierarchy did start to emerge.
Oh yeah, and it's about to get even more complicated.
Oh, yeah. Remember how we talked about Supreme Tech defeating Alpha Cheater? Like, that was a legendary battle.
Yeah, it was basically a duel for the soul of Ban.Land or something. But then Supreme Tech, he just disappeared. Right?
Gone. And that's where things start to really unravel, because without his leadership, the server, it just descends into this whole new level of chaos.
Like taking the lid off a pressure cooker.
Exactly. And that's what we'll pick up next time, with the rise of the duping era and this, like, strange, almost tragic second act of Alpha Cheater's story. Welcome back, everyone. We're picking up where we left off with Ban.Land and the saga of Alpha Cheater.
So last time, things were kind of getting shaky. Supreme Tech vanished, right? And we're left wondering what happened to the community after that.
Well, it definitely wasn't pretty. Things started to really unravel without Supreme Tech's leadership.
Makes sense. It's like you remove that stabilizing force, and the whole system starts to break down.
It's like a pressure cooker suddenly losing its valve, right? But then this crazy thing happens, like something out of a movie.
Oh, this is the duping era, right?
Exactly. Duping. Just imagine every player suddenly having access to unlimited resources.
Unlimited resources? Like, how is that even possible in Minecraft?
Players discovered these glitches in the game's code, these exploits that allowed them to duplicate items. Essentially, they found a cheat code for the whole server.
So did everyone just become, like, super rich overnight? What happened?
Pretty much. And the impact on the server was massive. The power balance shifted completely. Like, players who were once just scraping by, they're suddenly building these huge bases. They're hoarding mountains of resources. They're engaging in these insane PvP battles with duped weapons and armor.
Wow, so it sounds like the duping era really kind of amplified both the good and the bad on Ban.Land.
Oh, absolutely. It was this explosion of creativity, right? Like, players used their newfound wealth to build incredible structures, like giant map art you could see from miles away.
Yeah, the wiki mentions some of these, like Daddy Putin, Daddy Joseph, even a giant Pepe near spawn.
Yeah. It was this weird mix of creativity and humor and social commentary all playing out in this lawless digital world.
But then there were groups like Ball Force, right? The ones who just wanted to see the world burn.
Oh, yeah. Ball Force, they were infamous. Used their duped TNT to grief bases, just wreak havoc, just pure destruction.
Did anyone try to stop them? Like, what about Wid, the server admin? I thought he was supposed to be hands-off.
He was. It's almost like he was running some kind of social experiment, observing how players would react to this sudden influx of power.
So he just let them dupe, even with all that chaos.
It seems so. I mean, it really makes you wonder, what was his goal? Was he intentionally trying to create chaos, or was he just fascinated by the whole drama unfolding?
It's like he was this puppet master, pulling the strings from behind the scenes.
And the players were his puppets.
So how did all this affect Alpha Cheater? He was the PvP king, but now everyone had access to the same gear, right?
Exactly. The playing field was leveled. Alpha Cheater's advantage, gone. Like, the duping era was kind of his fall from grace. Remember how he thrived in that early, harsh environment? Suddenly, everything changed.
So how did he react? Did he just rage quit, disappear?
Nope. Alpha Cheater, he adapted. He actually started teaming up with other players, forming alliances, and he got involved in these massive griefing sprees.
Oh, wow. Even the lone wolf needed a pack in the end.
Yeah, it really shows how the dupes changed the social fabric of the server.
So what you're saying is this duping thing wasn't just some random event. It actually changed everything about Ban.Land. It even influenced someone like Alpha Cheater, who was supposed to be this solitary force.
It's a perfect example of how even a single change can completely transform a complex system. And in a way, the duping era, it kind of foreshadowed Ban.Land's downfall.
What do you mean?
Well, think about it. All that duplicated energy, all that unchecked potential for creation and destruction, it was bound to implode eventually.
And implode it did. Welcome back to the show, everyone. We were talking about Alpha Cheater and Ban.Land and all the crazy stuff that went down. And we've covered a lot of ground, his PvP skills, his psychological warfare, the duping era, the eventual shutdown of the server. But I was thinking for this last part, let's try to lighten things up a bit. Talk about some of the more humorous Alpha Cheater moments, the ones that really give us a glimpse into his personality and his quirks, right?
Yeah, because behind that terrifying reputation, behind that broken English in the chat, there was a real person with, believe it or not, a sense of humor.
All right, you got my attention. What kind of humor are we talking about here? Was he like cracking jokes in the chat?
Oh, much more subtle than that. Remember we were talking about his His obsession with trapping players in obsidian boxes.
Oh, yeah, poor CIO.
Well, it turns out he did that to a lot of players, and he would use those moments to, well, kind of troll them.
Oh, okay.
Like one player described being trapped in a box, totally unable to escape, and Alpha Cheater would send him messages like, "You are now my pet."
Oh, my God.
Something of a Bond villain, right?
Happily, yeah.
Or he would place a single block of diamond outside the box, just out of reach, as a taunt.
Oh, talk about adding insult to injury. Jeez.
Right, so it's like, if you're going to be the server's top predator, you might as well have some fun with it.
Right, exactly. Okay, so he wasn't just some mindless griefer. He was like, I don't know, an artist, like a psychological, I don't even
Just
know.
a master manipulator. He knew how to, push people's buttons, how to exploit their weaknesses.
For sure. But, okay, so is there anything else in other stories that kind of paint him in a, I don't know, maybe a more relatable light?
There's this one. I think you'll find this pretty funny. It involves Wide, the server admin. Wide was always up to something, right? So he orchestrates this event called the Genie event. And basically, players had to complete all these, bizarre challenges. And the winner got 3 wishes, just like a real genie.
Wait, a genie? Like, he could wish for anything?
Pretty much. Classic Wide. Always keeping things interesting.
Oh, for sure. So who won?
This player named Russ.
Wait, Russ. That's the guy who later teamed up with Alpha Cheater, right? Like, they griefed some massive bases together.
Yeah, that's the one. Well, Russ wins this Genie event. And for his first wish, he wishes for an Efficiency 255 pickaxe.
Efficiency 255.
Yeah.
But the max level in Minecraft is 5.
Exactly. Russ basically wished for a pickaxe that could break any block instantly, and for his second wish, unbreaking 255 on the pickaxe, making it indestructible.
Oh my gosh, he's just showing off at this point.
Right, and for his third wish, he wished that no one else would ever have the power that he now had.
Okay, talk about a power move. So Russ basically becomes this godlike figure with his indestructible pickaxe. What did everyone else do?
Most players were just like, in awe, But Alpha Cheater, ever the opportunist, he saw this as a challenge. He actually convinced Russ to help him grief some of the server's most elaborate bases.
He turned the server's most powerful player into his personal demolition crew. That's amazing.
He's a classic Alpha Cheater, always finding a way to adapt, always turning any situation to his advantage.
Man, it's a shame that Ban.Land is gone. I would have loved to see what kind of chaos Alpha Cheater would create in, today's Minecraft. You know what I mean?
He was definitely a product of his time, a true legend of the anarchy era.
Yeah, and his story is just a reminder that even in virtual worlds, things can get pretty wild.
Absolutely. It's a testament to the power of emergent gameplay, The creativity and the chaos that can happen when you give players freedom. You give them a blank canvas and you just let them go.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, I think we've pretty much covered everything there is to know about Alpha Cheater. It's been quite a journey.
It really has. Thanks for joining us on this epic journey into the heart of Ban.Land. Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep those torches lit.
And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss any of our future deep dives into the world of Minecraft. And, leave a comment down below if we missed any of your favorite Alpha Cheater moments. We'll catch you guys next time.